Hey there, and welcome to another snack size session in this 21 draw course on caricatures. I'm your host and guide, Loopy Dave. In today's session, we will take a look at tips on references, how to use them for better results, what to look for, some good places to find them, etc. I usually collect or at least look at multiple images of the subject I plan to caricature. This helps me to become more familiar with the person's facial features. In fact, I usually then do a bunch of exploratory drawings from these, which helps me to pay attention to details, gives me a better idea of how I want to handle its various parts, and also gives me some choices as to which direction I want to go for the final image. A single photo or reference may not give you an accurate sense of the face. Cameras can lie. Different lenses, strange lighting, funny angles, or even an unusual expression can show someone in a manner that may make them appear in an uncharacteristic way. Here's two photos of the same person using two different lenses, neither being a particularly accurate take on the subject. The first lens flattens out the face, while the other more fisheye lens distorts the features in a different way. So, if I were to draw a caricature based on either one of these photos in isolation, the results could look quite different, as the camera distortions would affect my choice of shapes and which parts I would exaggerate. The resulting images are more a caricature of that particular photo, rather than being a good caricature of the subject. Being able to look at multiple images will give you a more accurate impression of the person you wish to draw. While I'm hunting for references, I like to find shots from different angles as well. At a minimum, both a side profile and a front-on reference, even if this isn't the angle I want to draw them from. The different angles give me a more 3D understanding of the face. For example, here's one of my warm-up or exploratory sketches I did of a certain Mr. Benedict Cumberbatch. From this angle, we can tell things about the width of his features, forehead, nose, chin, etc. But it's not until we see the face from the side do we understand details like how far his nose protrudes or chin recedes. A caricature is more than just an interesting balance of someone's features, though. A person's personality and mannerisms also help to define them. So, during my research, I like to look to find more about who they are and what kind of quirks or expressions they favour. The way they like to smile, raise an eyebrow, a certain preferred tilt to the head. Here's a caricature of Jim Carrey. In referencing him, I found multiple photos with some variations of this particular expression. By cluing onto this, I made it easier to capture his likeness and personality than if I'd gone for a reference that said less about him. The same idea applies in finding an image that is more interesting. It makes sense that if you start with an interesting reference, you'll be more likely to end up with an interesting result. Here's a quick caricature of Mr. Eddie Murphy. He's recognisable as Eddie, or at least I hope he is, but I deliberately work primarily from a more neutral photo that says little about him. Next, I used a more lively and fun resource as my primary image, and the result is far more interesting. Fun reference, better results. Don't let a single image dictate everything about your final caricature, though. Sometimes you just can't find exactly what you're looking for in a single image, or you want to bring something a bit different or extra to your piece. For example, you may find reference with an expression you like, but the lighting or colour is poor, or you want to draw a caricature for a gag, but the angle isn't quite right. Learning to mix and match your references broadens your options. Here's some preliminary warm-up sketches for a caricature of the actress Cameron Diaz. I like the expression and face shape from sketch 1, but the particular photo I referenced for it was poorly lit and the colours were, well, not really those I would associate with Ms. Diaz. So instead, I used a second image as my guide for colour and lighting. I also felt that the hairstyle in sketch 1 wasn't quite iconic enough. She does change her hair a bit, so I did a little research as to what haircut she had for her various movies, to find the styling that people would recognise or associate with her more readily. Mixing and matching like this can be a bit tricky when you are first starting out, but being able to pull from multiple images allows you not to be held back by the limitations that may be found in a single reference. Reference sizes. Eyes and eyebrows rule of thumb, which is interesting because thumbs don't have eyes or eyebrows. In an ideal world, it would be just the bigger the image, the better. But we get most of our reference of people off the internet these days, and high-res references aren't always available. Size isn't the full issue though, it's more about the clarity of detail. I've found large images that, for whatever reason, aren't that clear, and inversely smaller ones that are crisp and precise. The good news is you don't need an image to be big to create a successful caricature. My general rule of thumb is that at a minimum, I look to be able to make out the shape and details of the eyes in a photo. Not only are the eyes important features, but also if a photo makes them clear, then I know more than likely it has enough other information to work with. When I'm working on a fully fleshed out painting type of caricature, I check references for details in the eyebrows, like hair direction or spaces, as a key to whether there is enough information to work with there. So if you catch me staring at your eyebrows, don't take it personally, I'm probably just trying to work out if you are detailed enough to paint. Finally, some quick tips on where to source references from. The internet has made this so much quicker and more convenient these days, and most people go straight to the good old Google search. An easy trick to change the images that it shows is to add the word happy or some other random word after the person's name for some variation. Google's search by image function can be handy as well. If you paste an image's URL or upload an image you have already found to the Google search function through the camera icon, it'll find a bunch of similar images. Pinterest is another great place to search for faces. Generally has a good range, but the images tend to be a bit on the smaller side. Can be a good place to find interesting faces to practice on though. Stock image services like Shutterstock, Getty's, etc. can be another way to find stuff. If you go to their site and type in the name of the person you're after, they often have some quite high-res files or different images than elsewhere to look through. It's also another good place to find random faces to practice on. While it's perfectly fine and, in some cases, entirely necessary to work from one image, we've discussed the benefits of collecting multiple points of reference for a better understanding of the face. We've looked at different angles, looking for more interesting photos, a person's mannerisms, clarity of image, etc. So now, let's look at what you can do. Last session we ended with the task of deciding on who you would like to caricature. And yes, you guessed it, the task from this session is to find multiple images of that person or persons. Try to find interesting shots, ones from different angles, all the stuff we've just been talking about. Well, that's it from me. Join me next time when we will discuss asking questions, and we'll look up Harrison Ford's nose.